Hi, Dr. Bill Brattle here. Today I'll be reviewing the Aragon Matador NH35, which I'll call the Matty. I've been following Aragon for years as the owner, Wing, has been doing some really creative, colorful, and interesting stuff with materials. I think of him as the Andy Warhol of the watchmaking industry. I bought the Matty directly from Aragon. The Matty was shipped and arrived quickly. The Matty comes in this substantial box with this booklet that provides information about Aragon's 2-year warranty and provides instructions for using Aragon's various movements. The Matty has an entry-level Seiko movement called the NH35, which is a decent low-cost automatic movement. The Matty's bracelet is 22 millimeters. There's no taper. It is 24 millimeters at the clasp. It's a thick bracelet with smooth edges. Micro brands have a lot of trouble making edges of thick bracelets smooth at the sub $500 price point. The Matty's links are also smooth on the top as well as the bottom. The solid end links were difficult to remove. In fact, I aborted when I scratched the back of one of the end links. This is going to invite dickheads to leave comments about how inept I am and how they removed the Matty's end links while on the phone driving down the interstate going 90 miles per hour without ever having swapped out a bracelet in their lives. Let me preemptively tell these people what they already know, which is that no one loves them. I'd really like to see the Matty come with drill lug holes for easier bracelet removal. The bracelet also has independent mid-links. At $189, this is fantastic. Notice how fluid the mid-links make the bracelet. It has really good horizontal flow as well. This is incredible. Thick bracelets at this price point usually look like some industrial Soviet-era hunk of steel, but the partially slanted design of the Matty's bracelet links is actually pleasing to the eye. The bracelet wears great, as one would expect with the Matty's design. However, I would like to have seen at least 2 millimeters of taper on the bracelet and no more than a 22 millimeter wide clasp. A 24 millimeter clasp is just too much. Not only would taper make the bracelet look better, it would give the user a greater degree of movement. As it stands, I'm a little restricted by the bracelet's bulk, though it's not a huge deal. The Matty uses cotter pins at 218 grams. The Matty is a heavy watch. My concern is that cotter pins in such a heavy watch might fail with long-term use. The bracelet has a glide lock clasp. The clasp is robust and locks nicely. I really like Wing's system of having 2 pairs of push buttons on the clasp. One pair for opening and the other pair for sizing. This makes both opening and sizing the clasp a breeze. The edges of the clasp aren't sharp, but a little rougher than what I would have liked. The clasp's glide lock pushers, the outer one in particular, border on being sharp and are thin enough to snag on materials such as clothing. Despite the glide lock's minor flaws, it is a fantastic feature that is pretty shocking to see in such a cheap watch. Even at $500, you're lucky to get a watch with a glide lock. Overall, this is a pretty amazing bracelet as well as clasp. The Matty's dials come with other pretty, very interesting looking materials. I chose the white mother of pearl as I try to get the most conservative looking design for my reviews. This is my first MOP watch, and now I'm like, MOP, where have you been all my life? I really don't like noisy dial backgrounds. The MOP adds a very tasteful amount of pizzazz to the dial without creating noise. The only thing about the Matty that gives away how cheap it really is its hands. Its hands are shiny, plasticky, and tacky looking. I've seen this level of tackiness in more expensive watches. However, I really wish watch companies didn't use this shiny, black, plasticky material. I kind of really hate it. I really like the bold logo on the dial and the discreetly small text at the bottom. I couldn't find anything in the specifications to indicate that the Matty has anti-reflective coating on the crystal. However, the Matty's dial is nicely recessed in the watch. I can just tell by looking at the watch's layout that you're not going to have a glare problem with the Matty. There's no need for AR coating with the Matty. The sapphire crystal is raised substantially over the steel bezel, which I like because it affords the bezel some protection. I love the bezel's industrial look, however it appears to be a scratch magnet. I've already scratched the bezel pretty good, yet have no recollection of hitting the bezel against anything and have barely had the watch on my wrist. The crystal sapphire registers a very impressive 9 bars from my diamond detector. The bezel has 120 clicks. The coin edge of the bezel is smooth, however the bezel is too tight. The tightness creates enough friction to make turning the bezel a little uncomfortable. Beneath the glass caseback is a sexy custom rotor. The text, "Wing Engineered," is on both the rotor and the caseback. I think this is a really cool personal touch. The case is handsome and rounded and, as far as I could tell, an original design. People in the comments might be able to tell me the technical name of the Maddie's finish. It appears to be a shallow brushing that exudes a white sheen. Whatever type of finish this is, it's done very well and I love it. Case integration with the female end links is fan-fucking-tastic. You will rarely come across quality like this at the sub-$500 level. The well-guarded crown is nicely knurled and grippy. The crown is lightly incised with a loomed logo. The crown pop is good, detents are great, hand winding is smooth, action is smooth. It's a super job. The Maddie isn't ISO rated, however, it has good crown pop. It's not going to let any water in. You don't need an ISO rating. Before I get into the fairly large dimensions of the Maddie, let me just say, don't freak out. The Maddie has what I describe as a super fitter case design. It has a protruding case back, which I'm sure was intentional so that a much smaller portion of the watch is actually touching your wrist. The case also has a pronounced saddle design with female end links. The lug-to-lug of 49.5 millimeters is big. My measurement of the case diameter is 43 millimeters, not the 42 millimeters specified by Aragon. The width of the case, including the crown, is 48 millimeters. This is also kind of big. The thickness is 15.5 millimeters, which is thick. The dimensions that I've described, as well as the weight, put the Maddie into borderline big-ass watch territory. However, as I've stated, the watch does not feel like a big watch at all. It's so comfortable to wear that I don't even realize that it's 218 grams. The only sensation of bigness I feel with the Maddie is the crown poke, which is tolerable. I really love how the Maddie wears. It just feels really, really well balanced. The Maddie's loom, while not terrible, is not great. I like to see a dive watch, even a cheap one, be visible in the dark for at least 4 hours after being charged with light. While the Maddie's loom is visible after 4 hours, it's very blurry, and you really need to put the watch right up to your eye to see it. The photograph of the Maddie's loom that I'm showing you is an approximation of what the Maddie would look like if you held it up to your naked eye after 4 hours of darkness. The only thing that's properly loomed on the Maddie is the blue loom pip. I don't expect micro brands to match the quality of loom of a Citizen or a Seiko. However, the Maddie did not live up to my expectations in terms of loom. The world is becoming increasingly more dystopian. Despite this, we are living in a watch utopia, and the Maddie is very convincing evidence of this. Never before in the history of mankind have people been able to purchase watches as nice as the Maddie for as cheap as the Maddie. As you will see in upcoming reviews, even corporate watch brands are lowering their prices while simultaneously increasing their level of quality. Overall, the Maddie is a fantastic watch and an incredible value. The Maddie is going to be a strong candidate for winning my 2022 Micro Brand of the Year award. Please like, please subscribe.